The views, opinions, and advice expressed in this podcast are solely those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of Pattison Media or the sponsors of this program.
Breathe out. 2, 3, 4.
Wellness is.
New research has come out that neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease are also related to inflammation.
Sometimes I want to be comforted and I want to hug. And other times, like, no, thank you.
After my mom died, I was clinically depressed and I didn't know what I was doing. So I actually took off to Europe for 4 months.
I went away with a friend and she is a chronic poster. And so you're in the restaurant, you sit there and wait while she does her real-time post. And it drives me crazy and it makes me feel like that's more important than this present moment.
We live in an instant society and we want results instantly. And meditation is a cumulative experience.
Welcome to Choosing Wellness, your podcast for practical advice about how to attain better physical and mental well-being so that instead of just surviving, you're thriving. Choosing Wellness is powered by Pattison Media. In this series, we'll share a health journey, explore the trends, and talk to the experts who will help you live your best life. And we'll have fun doing it. In this episode, what is inflammation and what can we do about it? Navigating hugs and affection for those who may not want it. Putting bounce in your life, staying in the moment, and how that relates to focus with Life Unlimited Stephanie Staples. And Claire Maisonneuve talks us through how to meditate. I'm Linda Freeman. Come join the journey of choosing wellness.
How to choose wellness.
Dr. Andrew Hall is an extensively experienced natural products scientist and has over 20 years of research into the field of naturally occurring compounds and their effects on mental health and also on the body overall, and currently holds a PhD in pharmacology. And you are also a respected speaker and author in the field of natural medicine. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you here. I really wanted to talk to you about inflammation in the body. It seems to have even more talk around it now more than ever. But I wanted to turn to you and your expertise so that you can break down, first off, what exactly inflammation is.
Inflammation in general is a very complex biological process. So it's really just our body's natural response to injury, infection, and overall just harmful stimuli from our external environment. It's really the process in which our body naturally responds and heals the body by removing harmful things with the overall goal for our body to naturally repair itself. You would really categorize this into two different processes, something you would call acute inflammation or chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation would be what you would think of as falling down, hurting your leg, and seeing the swelling. So it's a short-term effect that lasts maybe a few hours or a few days, where what the research is now coming out with, and I think really what's been exciting, is the chronic inflammation. So it's the long-lasting inflammation that occurs through various different external stimuli, and natural processes. And this is linked to tons of different diseases.
And that's where we'll focus on, is that type of inflammation that can affect the overall body. It's this ongoing inflammation that builds into the body that I really want to dig into. And I was looking for good examples and some things that we won't necessarily think about.
Examples would be your infections, so whether or not it's bacteria, viruses, or fungi. Injuries, whether or not it's internal injuries. We typically think of injuries as cuts or bruises, but it's injuries to, say, our liver from too much sugar, so causing fatty acid liver disease. Natural toxins, so our overall lifestyle choices, something like alcohol, cigarettes, drug use, or even really in particular your diet. A lot of individuals also have autoimmune disease, when your body is naturally responding to inflammation and your immune system is attacking healthy tissues, which is really the downstream issues of diseases. But what a lot of people don't really think about is chronic stress and poor diet contribute to a lot of this inflammation as well. So being under immense pressure, deregulating some of your cortisol systems will cause this inflammation and eventually cause uncontrolled inflammation throughout the body, leading to various health conditions and health-related problems.
We're now understanding and seeing that so many things that go on in the body is related to inflammation. And there's things that we can do to make that situation better when it comes to our own health.
I mean, you're looking at cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease, lupus, diabetes. Chronic inflammation does cause these downstream issues. And really, new research has come out that neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease are also related to inflammation.
There's so many things that we can do on a daily basis and incorporate into our lives that will just naturally fight any inflammation in the body. And you mentioned diet, and that's a big one. That healthy eating is shown to reduce inflammation in the body.
I totally agree. So I would say a healthy diet, mindful practices. So if you're regulating your stress, having the right food and nutrients so your body can function at its optimal level, there is complex anti-inflammatory, antioxidant related pathways within the body that these nutrients and these biological processes will help maintain a healthy immune system and essentially your chronic inflammation.
So what could you say and speak to how to combat and support our bodies, both mentally and physically, to get rid of inflammation? What are your suggestions?
Food is your number one thing. Maintain a healthy weight. It's being more educated, I think, around your diet, your lifestyle choices. How do you be more conscious in all your decisions? So how do you exercise regularly? Working your way up to doing some exercise, doing regular walking. These are all things to help combat and help maintain your body in normal function. How do you manage stress properly? This is very important because your cortisol and your adrenal function within your body have a big role to play within the overall homeostasis of your body. So I'd like to say practice mindfulness, meditation, yoga, deep breathing exercises, and drinking water, having the right amount of water within your system. So it's overall trying to improve your lifestyle, limiting even Oreos. I'm guilty. That's my guilty pleasure.
Right.
But having 3 cookies as opposed to the entire sleeve is a big difference because overeating is terrible for the body. Overindulgence of anything is terrible for the body. So having the right ingredients, having the right preparation of these foods, I think is really key to combating a lot of inflammation and improving overall biological function, including mental health.
When we do these things, we bring down inflammation in the body and therefore are healthier people overall.
It's all about balanced lifestyle and don't do extremes for anything, in my opinion.
I do just want to touch upon, because this is an area that you've really researched and studied, and that is the Alzheimer's and dementia and how inflammation plays into that.
So when we talk about Alzheimer's and dementia, there is a lot of research that's out there and it's still being discovered. So what we do know is that it is a neurodegenerative disease. What I mean by that is neurons and there's cell death, there's changes within your brain pathways that are dying, which is obviously overall bad, causing memory issues. Your central nervous system is responsible for overall body function. So inflammation is oxidative stress, meaning these are free radicals that will be damaging cells. So being able to combat those free radicals with antioxidants, there's mechanistic antioxidants, not just blueberries. These are all keys to having an overall healthy lifestyle. But everything plays a role, even genetics. So you want to, in your life, for everything you do, try to build as much of a positive influence to combat every possibility that's out there.
All of these are the building blocks. Everything we've been talking about with eating well and exercising and having that mental well-being in your life really helps give you the building blocks that you need to try to fight these things that can take you earlier in life than you may want to go.
Absolutely. I mean, that's coming from infections, diseases. Having everything as an overall healthy lifestyle will help you combat every single disease that's out there. And they believe that inflammation is the root cause of about 80% of all diseases, including cancer. So there's a lot of research that's indicated that's out there for that, but that's not just the root cause. It's not just inflammation. These are just additional factors towards life that will impact your resilience, your ability to fight these things, and overall have a healthy lifestyle.
I think you really brought a good understanding to looking at some of the more chronic signs of inflammation within the body. Is there anything that we missed that you really think is important for people to understand before we go?
I think it's really being mindful of what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, what toxins you have, what stress you're undergoing. Mind over matter plays a big role in a lot of things. And overall, I think we've hit the nail on the head. Everything is about balance and not overindulging.
Absolutely. You can go to drhalls.com. There's tons of great information there, some blogs, and if you've got any questions, you can always reach out via drhalls.com website. Thanks so much, Andrew. It was great having you.
Thank you.
Coming up later on Choosing Wellness, why hugging for some people is uncomfortable and what to do about it.
Life Unlocked.
How does bouncing your way to better health sound? Like a whole lot of fun, I'd say. It's called rebounding, and it is simply jumping on a mini trampoline. I know some of you are saying, yeah, right, Linda, I'll pee myself. Uh-oh. So maybe you have to listen to the Vagina Coach first. That's episode 5 of season 2. And actually, rebounding has been shown to improve pelvic floor health. So why jump?
One very common thing that I hear over and over and over when people start doing rebounding exercise is their energy goes straight up into vertical. And I think it has a lot to do with the fat being more activated in the lymphatic system. So the biggest benefit of rebounding exercise has to do with supporting the immune system.
Let me add to the list. It's low impact, can improve balance, boosts your heart health, strengthens muscles, protects your bones and joints, relieves stress, and improves your mood. Those are pretty good reasons to give it a try. And it's easy to modify rebounding movements for different fitness levels. Not to mention, rebounding can be a lot of fun, and it can make us feel like a kid again. Yay! The average cost of a mini trampoline is around $40 to $80. So why not bounce your way into 2025 and get a healthier life? Coming up later on Choosing Wellness, we talk about the importance of staying focused with Life Unlimited Stephanie Staples.
Health Tag.
Hugging is back on our radar. We've talked before about how research has shown hugging releases endorphins in the brain, which slows down heart rate and reduces stress and anxiety levels. But for some, hugging is uncomfortable and stressful. And producer Karen Habashi is one of those people. So she went looking for some answers with psychologist Dr. Jenica Engler.
Hi, Dr. Jenica, and welcome to Choosing Wellness.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Can we tell our listeners what are the benefits of hugging?
Sure. So hugging is actually very beneficial for many children and adults. It releases oxytocin, which is the feel-good or like love hormone. It's good for us in many ways. However, there can be some times when hugging is not so good or not ideal. Hugging may, in fact, produce an opposite effect from what you would hope it would.
I'm Egyptian, and we're a very touchy-feely culture. Like, you can meet the person for the first time, and you have to have, like, hugging. And I was always this person who's like, I don't want to do that. I do hug my husband and my kids, but other than that, I feel very uncomfortable. I would love if you can explain this.
I want to normalize that everybody, both neurodivergent individuals as well as neurotypical individuals, have different preferences. For some people, they are just not touchy-feely. They like space. Others might have a trauma history, and physical touch can evoke negative emotions and reactions. You have this whole range of preferences and presentations, and could be dependent upon just the feelings of the day, or some might have stronger preferences. No two individuals are necessarily the same in terms of their preferences.
I love that. Not one size fits all. You said a few examples of why someone would not love hugging. Can you tell me more about that?
Some people, like myself and my daughter included, we are just people who like to take our time and space to calm down. So what I've gotten in the habit of for both myself and my daughter is asking, do you want comfort or space? And that one question can actually be really helpful, because sometimes when I'm upset, I want to be comforted and I want to hug. And other times, like, no, thank you. I need to take some time and space to sort of calm myself down, because that's my preference and my coping style. My husband, for example, will typically like comfort, and he's the person who might want to be hugged. It's more, what are your needs? And understanding that may be different depending on the day, the situation, what's going on.
What are other ways other than, hugging that you can convey that affection?
I sort of liken it back to the 5 different love languages, right? So physical affection is one of the love languages, but there's many others. There's words of affirmation, spending quality time together. Obviously, that's not necessarily what's going to replace a hug for many people, but there's lots of different ways to sort of show that you care. Sometimes the biggest thing that you can do is put your phone down and be fully present. A pat on the back. Some people, they might not like hugs, but they might like a back massage or things like that can also produce that same oxytocin effect. Or simply sitting next to somebody like that can have a similar effect as well. There's lots of different options, and sometimes it's just a matter of thinking outside of the box and figuring out what works in different scenarios. But I come back to the question of what would make you feel best right now? Like, do you want comfort or space? And what does that comfort look like? And sometimes giving choices can be really helpful in that regard. So would you like a hug, or would you like me to rub your back? Would you like a hug or a high five?
How do you convey that without hurting the other person's, like your partner, the person you're dating? They're feeling like, I love you so much, but sometimes hugging for me is suffocating, or it makes me feel very irritable.
Things like acts of service and spending quality time together. It is difficult, though, again, when you have a mismatch. So, I would encourage you to have a conversation and be quite frank with your partner and say, look, this is what makes me feel good and makes me feel loved and appreciated. And this is what I really crave. And let's figure out what you really crave. And let's see how we can arrive at a middle path. It might just be that you have to put some boundaries and things in line with, okay, I don't want to be hugged first thing in the morning. I need to get coffee first, and then I can give you a hug later, perhaps, if my day is going well.
You're so real. Before we end, if it's something you want to leave with them,
you got to put your own oxygen mask on first. Pretend you're on an airplane. If you can't take care of yourself, it's going to be really hard to take care of your kids. So protect and take care of your own mental health, so that way you can better serve your kids.
Thank you so much. This was a very interesting conversation.
You can find Dr. Jenica on Instagram at Dr. Jenica. That's at DrJenicka. Coming up later, learning the need to be in the moment.
Being real.
From the outside looking in, you might think a successful entrepreneur who has lived in New York, has made great money, and is helping other designers rise to the top sounds like a pretty good life. But with the ups come the downs. This is Dee's story. This is Being Real.
My name is Lisa D. Dermengen, but I go by D just because it's a little bit easier. And I am the owner and the dean of the Cut Design Academy. I was 27 when my best friend passed away, and then 29 when my mother passed away. On the outside, people would look and think, she's doing so great. I was miserable. After my mom died, I was clinically depressed, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I actually took off after I sold that factory and went to Europe for 4 months and That was the beginning of my self-awareness journey. I learned to enjoy my own company because I got to know myself. And when that happens, you do go through some pretty serious dark spaces till you get to the other side. We're so conditioned to think that spending time alone is wrong, or people, I'm alone because people don't like me. When you really sort of take all those things away, it's kind of like, I like me. And then you really come at things in a different light. So I started with a therapist, and I was very lucky because my friend recommended her. And I'll never forget, she practiced out of her house and she did it in her garden suite. And the garden suite was like walking into your mother's womb. It was so amazing. I love going there. I had already started taking anti-anxiety medication because I really spiraled. I had a full-on anxiety breakdown where I didn't sleep for 3 nights. And when I say I didn't sleep, I was doing laps around my apartment. And from my own journey and just a lot of my friends' journeys, it's really challenging is the wrong word. It's not challenging your beliefs, but every belief has the opposite belief. So if I believe I'm unworthy, well, in some version, I have to be worthy for the unworthy to exist. So I can honestly say it's probably taken 2 decades between therapy and different types of reading and, again, self-awareness journey to stumble upon that. We really don't put enough attention on how we talk to ourselves, the way you approach something and the way you speak to yourself. Just that slight shift, just changing a little bit inside your brain that can turn that frown upside down, even if it's for a minute. A minute a day turns into 5 hours by the end of the month. And that's a big change. I think that this is true for every single person in the world. The most interesting person you will ever meet is yourself. So take the time to get to know yourself. There's nothing to be scared of for that time alone. Enjoy it, because you are the most interesting person in your life.
Thank you for sharing your story, Dee. Later on Choosing Wellness, we hear from registered clinical counselor Claire Maisonneuve on how and why to meditate.
I'm nice for a living. I'm nice for a living. I'm nice for a living. I'm nice for a living.
Life Unlimited with Stephanie Staples.
How focused on what we're doing are we really? I did some digging around, and psychologists at Harvard University collected information on daily activities, thoughts, and feelings of over 2,200 volunteers to find out how often they were focused on what they were doing and what made them most happy. And they found that people were happiest, well, actually when having sex, exercising, or in conversation, and at least happy when working, resting, or using a home computer. And I thought that this is a perfect thing for us to tackle and talk about. With you, Stephanie Staples, motivational speaker, I want you to help me tackle this topic. How are you?
I'm pretty darn fine. I have not read this survey, but I would like to.
I loved the happiest when having sex, but see, they keep saying, and same with exercising or in conversation, because you're not as distracted, or you're not distracted at all because you're focused on what's going on. Like, you're not going to pick up your phone and start reading text during sex unless you want your marriage or relationship to end. Oh, hold on just a second.
I'm sure it's been done.
In reading your various blogs and following you on Instagram, I see a lot of this with you, which is that bit about staying in the moment and capturing life experiences. You're so good at this, and that is ideas to help us really look at staying in the moment.
Let's talk about some things we can do, but let's talk about some things we cannot do. I was away for a weekend with my sister. I just observed that both of us did take pictures of, but neither of us posted right away. And I contrasted that to the last time I went away with a friend, and she is a chronic poster. And so you're in the restaurant, okay, everybody takes a picture of their food, fine. But then you sit there and wait while she does her real-time post. And it drives me crazy, and it makes me feel like that's more important than this present moment. I love it when you do something kind of intuitively and then it gets backed up by research. And so there was a study done at Yale And it showed that when people take pictures for the purpose of posting immediately, it literally decreases their satisfaction with that experience. Whereas if they take a picture for the purpose of posting later perhaps, or just having that as a memory, that their satisfaction with the experience goes way up. We're not looking necessarily for that external validation. And I thought something so simple as having a pause between when you take the picture and when you post, and allowing you to be present in that moment. And it would really honor the person that we're with. Have you had a similar experience, Linda?
Well, I'm not a big poster. When I'm with friends and when I'm traveling or, out walking with my husband or whatever, I take photos. They just sit on my phone, and when I get a chance, I'll share them. Half the time, I don't even remember to take a photo because I'm so in the moment. I live by staying in the moment and capturing real life experiences and not always having to take out my camera and take a photo of it.
And have you heard that term called sharenting?
No, but I like it. Sharenting. Tell me more.
It's parenting that feel like they have to share every moment of their kid's life, right? They're sharing all the time. Parents are proud, parents are sharing. But yeah, it's a thing. And I think in the future, it's going to be a bigger, more dangerous thing.
Right. And I think that we're now being conditioned that everything has to be put out there.
And even before I wrote this blog post and found out about this Yale study, I was talking with a colleague who's very posty. And I said, I can't do it in real time. Like, should I still do it 3 days later? Or is it not worth doing it 3 days later? Or it doesn't matter. Who cares?
Why does it need to be live? You're right. Like, why not just live those moments, take some of those photos, and then if you want to, you can always post it later. But if I was to ask you, what exactly does it mean to live in the moment? How would you describe that?
Where your body and your mind is in the same place, right? You can feel the senses of what is going on, right? You can feel the wind on your skin. When your mind is here, you're in that place where you could recognize those tiny moments of awe and wonder.
It's focusing on that right now. And we don't do that enough. And I also read some studies that people who focus on seeking pleasure in the moment, sex is a great example, like we mentioned that off the top, but they're happier than those who focus on the past. And I don't think that this is surprising, but yet so many of us focus on the past.
So one of the techniques you can do to be more present is to chat it out in your brain, like, I am going to remember this moment. I'm going to remember the color of these trees right now. I am going to remember how I felt, creating like a little mini ritual, or it's called an anchor technique. For example, I go to Rotary, which is a service organization. When the meeting starts, the first thing they do is play O Canada. And so what I started to do is I started to put my hand over my heart. It really helps me be present to O Canada. I'm trying to emulate, kind of putting it right into my heart. I'm so grateful to be Canadian. I'm so grateful to live here. I push it into my heart. When you are having a moment, the idea is that every time you feel this, you keep putting that into the same spot. So that when you need to access that feeling, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling overwhelmed, like, I just put my hands on my heart and all those feelings just come flooding back out at you. So it's a little woo-woo, it's neuro-linguistic programming, but it's a thing and it can really help.
If I always like your little woo-hoo. Simple things that we can incorporate easily into our lives.
Yeah, and we don't have to do everything. This is our life and it's okay. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
To enjoy just the simple pleasures of life that makes us happier and likely more productive. So thanks, Steph. Anything else you have to say before we go?
And Stephanie Staples, as always, encouraging you to live your life unlimited.
Well, for more great ways to live a happier life or your life unlimited, and if you need an amazing speaker, you can go to stephaniestaples.ca.
Thanks.
Mindfulness moment.
Meditation is a well-known technique to reduce stress and anxiety, enhance your mood, promote healthy sleep patterns, and boost cognitive skills. So how do we start a meditation practice? What does that look like? We turn to Claire Maisonneuve, a registered clinical counselor with Alpine Counseling Clinic in Vancouver.
We live in an instant society, and we want results instantly. And meditation, although it will give you some beneficial feelings, perhaps, and sensations and experiences in the moment, the fact is that meditation is a cumulative experience. It is something that you benefit from by doing it over and over and over again. And one of the key attitudes that we must bring to meditation is to not look for the results immediately. We must do it only because we believe in it. Because we know that over time, this will change my life and it will benefit me. But there's no instant cure with it. So we have to buy into the concept. Most people, they start and they think, gosh, this is really difficult. This is laborious. This isn't doing anything for me. Particularly when you're meditating, you become so much more aware of how restless your mind is. And that's very discouraging at first, because a lot of times people would say to me in my meditation classes, I feel worse. This isn't helping me. And I'm saying, no, you're not worse. You're just actually seeing the truth of what's going on inside your mind. And the truth is very painful. We constantly avoid truth in our lives. So you are actually seeing the truth of your restless mind, of your negative mind, of your catastrophic mind. You are seeing what's actually going on in the back of your mind day in and day out, but you never pay attention. You just become a victim to it. You just react to it. So I think it's really difficult to sell this concept to people of meditation. When you are meditating, you need an object of concentration. You need to have something to bring your mind back over and over again into the present moment. The most important thing that most traditions will use is something that's going to be with you at all times when you meditate, and that will be the breath. The breath is the most powerful tool to help you stay in the present moment. We have a lot of apps that guide us through meditation. Those are really good to calm your nervous system and help you calm down, relax, go to sleep. But they're not training your mind to become mindful, but to do it on your own, without music, without anything else, just sitting in a quiet space, following the breath at these several areas in your body, or using a mantra is the way to train your brain to become accustomed to come back to the present moment. It's your life. It's your thoughts. You're the only one that's living with those thoughts. So you're the one that needs to get accustomed to them. You're the one that needs to get familiar with those thoughts. Ultimately, you have to create a discipline in order for you to be able to train your mind and not need anything or anybody else other than a chair to sit on. And even if you start with 5 minutes at a time, it's a discipline. It's like anything else. You don't get to the Olympics by going swimming here and there once in a while, right? You go, no matter how the weather is, no matter how you feel, you go into that pool, you keep trying. It's the same thing with meditation. I mean, I don't know where I would be today at 64 years old if I didn't have this practice in the last 40 years. I just can't even imagine what my life would be.
Thanks, Claire. Next time, there's nowhere to run. How the pandemic made people aware of their anxious thoughts. You can find Claire at anxietyandstressrelief.com. Now, to get started with meditation, head over to everythinglifestyle.ca and check out Meditation with Amanda. Life is challenging, and choosing wellness in our daily lives may seem like adding to the already long to-do list. But together, we can make it easier. Join us on the next Choosing Wellness as Life Unlimited Stephanie Staples takes on goal setting. We talk eye health and how regular checkups can be life-saving. and sustainable fashion. Good for the planet, good for the soul. I'm Linda Freeman. Let's connect again soon as together we take the journey of choosing wellness. You've been listening to Choosing Wellness, an initiative powered by Pattison Media, designed to inspire and motivate a healthy life. For more information on this program, go to everythinglifestyle.ca.
Another Everything Podcast production. Visit everythingpodcast.com, a division of Pattison Media. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast.